Hello and welcome to our presentation. Today we will be talking about a lesson in servant leadership, St. Vincent de Paul. My name is Capil Bhramdat, and with me today are my peers who have joined me in this group collaboration.
Hi, my name is Jinifer Cox.
My name is Keegan Carson.
And we are from the servant leadership class of spring 2018 here at Mercy College of Health Sciences. We are Team 2. Before we start talking about what we have done at St. Vincent de Paul, the community partner that we have volunteered our time at and learned how to grow and develop more servant leaders, we're going to talk a little bit about the history and the mission and a few other things of St. Vincent de Paul, the organization, and then we'll get into our personal experiences. So first of all, the history of St. Vincent de Paul. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul is a worldwide organization founded in Paris, France in 1833 by Frederick Ozanam for the purpose of serving the needy with food, housing, and guidance. St. Vincent de Paul, he's an actual person. And he is the inspiration behind the establishment of the St. Vincent de Paul establishment. St. Vincent de Paul was a legend in his own time, and he gave to his community by starting the first documented accounts of what is now confession. He dedicated his life to helping the poor, and he was also a community organizer. St. Vincent de Paul organized people who were wealthy to encourage people, who were wealthy to organize into groups to care for the community poor and needy. St. Vincent de Paul was captured by pirates and became a slave. And during his imprisonment, he prayed to God that if his life was spared, he would dedicate it to the service of poor persons. When he was younger, St. Vincent de Paul tried to escape his humble roots and instead sought fame as a priest. This led to his mingling with the elite in society. Because of his charm, intelligence, and sense of humor, people liked him. Because of his rise to fame and his embarrassments of his roots, he refused to see his father when visited at seminary school. Interestingly enough, the confession of a dying servant is what inspired St. Vincent de Paul to devote his life to helping those in need. He's known primarily for his charity and compassion for those in need. A couple things to note, a couple important dates. In 1625, St. Vincent de Paul founded the Congregation of the Mission, and he established many hospitals. Also in 1633, he co-founded the Daughters of Charity. After he passed away, and the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, as we talked about earlier, was established in 1833 by Frederick Ozanam. So the history kind of gives an insight to what the mission would be. And the mission, Keegan, if you'd like to explain that a little, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so St. Vincent de Paul is a charity that is Christian-based, and it's a voluntary organization working with the poor and disadvantaged people. Their mission is inspired by gospel values, and this organization leads women and men to join together to grow spiritually by offering person-to-person service to those who are in need and suffering.
Wonderful. And the mission of St. Vincent de Paul is still carried on today. And everybody who is a part of the organization of St. Vincent de Paul, we look at as missionaries. And the wonderful thing about missionaries, according to St. Vincent de Paul, missionaries should have the following 5 spiritual personal virtues. And those are simplicity, humility, gentleness or meekness, mortification, and zeal. Now, these terms, hundreds of years ago, have a slightly different meaning or interpretation today. So I'm going to explain them, and then we'll go from there. Simplicity is a virtue that means honesty. Honesty to oneself and those who the mission benefits. Humility is the act of being reasonable. It is said to be reasonable as a human and go forth with the mission, bartering and helping those in a way that is not coming from the stars, but from a place of goodness and in such a way that a plan is possible and actionable. Gentleness or meekness. Gentleness is to be meek, and meek is a sense and aura of not being intimidating, whether it be from a power stance or one of demeaning character. So those who are in need of your services should be able to approach you and call upon you to help them in their moment of need. Gentleness is, simply put, approachability. Mortification is the virtue of self-discipline. This means that you embrace the qualities of being able to hold a schedule of structure and also do so without greed or selfish ways. And the last of the 5 personal virtues is zeal. And zeal is the virtue of being hardworking. And zeal is also the backbone of the virtue mortification. Remember, mortification is discipline. Now, hardworking and self-discipline go hand in hand. If you're hardworking and cement your self-discipline, as a missionary, you are more qualified spiritually. Now, these values are still seen today in all of the members of St. Vincent de Paul that we have met as a team, whether it was us all together or individually from our little experiences. And this is just wonderful. It's amazing. We have a group of individuals who are down to earth, and they're just overflowing with goodness and warmth. And this is really awesome because in this way, years after his death, the virtues of what St. Vincent de Paul coins missionaries should have, it's still represented today in the individuals that participate in St. Vincent de Paul as a charity, as an organization. That gives us a little bit about, we talked about the history, we talked about the mission, we talked about what it means to be a missionary, what it means to serve St. Vincent de Paul. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the objectives and goals of the organization, St. Vincent de Paul, and I think, Jenifer, would you like to kind of talk about that a little?
Sure. So the objectives and goals of St. Vincent de Paul, there are 4 of them. The first one is to enable spiritual growth and leadership development. The second is to establish collaborative relationships with diverse organizations that focus on poverty. And there are, even through our Riverbend experience, it looks like there's maybe, I think we visited about 10 other organizations that their focus is on children, low-income families. They promote self-sufficiency by assisting with education, jobs, and homes. And we were a part, as a group, a part of the education piece and, well, actually the child care piece, and identify the root causes of poverty and advocate and work for changes required to create a more just and caring society. So those are the 4 goals and objectives that they work to achieve every day.
Perfect. And those objectives and goals, they kind of lead right into the social issues. And I think in our working with St. Vincent de Paul, I think you can pretty much sum up how what they are and how they work. Jenifer?
Sure. The social issues that St. Vincent de Paul works to address and combat are food access and insecurity, financial instability, poverty, and education. So they have the food pantry, and that helps obviously address the food access and insecure families. Financial instability, they help with things like emergency assistance, such as utilities or stuff like that. Poverty, That's pretty much all the programs and education.
Perfect.
Those who need, who haven't graduated high school, who need a GED. So.
Right, and it's really awesome because St. Vincent de Paul, they kind of have all of the education, all the education services right there on site. You don't have to go to additional places or additional, campuses for it. It all happens at one place, which is really, it helps the families out a lot more. Programs and services are something that I think is important to mention for St. Vincent de Paul. We originally thought that they just did one small thing, but we came to find out that there was a lot more. Keegan, if you want to touch on that a little, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so there are about 5 programs and services offered by St. Vincent de Paul. First is educational enrichment. They offer classes twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And currently they're doing math and English courses. So these are courses that are offered to the community, and members who have yet to finish high school can come and take these courses and then be able to go on and work towards their GED if they so choose. Childcare, that's offered during the time of the educational courses. So it's a 2-hour time period, and the students are able to bring their kids in, and we would watch them for the 2 hours and make sure everything's okay while the parents are occupied. This helps to save them money and also helps to keep them from having to find babysitters so that they can participate in these courses. The food pantry happens twice a week, and members can come in, and based off the family size, there are certain items that can be given to them, perishable and non-perishable. And then the thrift store, there's 2 locations, but they sell games, clothes, furniture, anything along those lines, and any profits from those go to help cover the overhead for the rest of St. Vincent de Paul and keep their services running. And then for social services, if you have any financial crises, things like that, that can't be covered by any other organization, St. Vincent de Paul also helps with that.
Perfect. And of all of those programs and services, St. Vincent de Paul really tries to incorporate everybody who does need help. And that's our target population. So St. Vincent de Paul aims to serve, people of any race, color, creed, age, sex, or national origin. And the wonderful thing about St. Vincent de Paul is that the organization is great at helping those who do need help take what they most necessarily need and can most efficiently use. So for example, they're not going to force a can of Spam on a family or an individual that's vegetarian. So they actually do work with the families and figure out what their lifestyle dictates and what they can do, what St. Vincent de Paul can do as an organization to help them in their time of need. So they help the community in a sensible manner is basically what I'm trying to get at here. St. Vincent de Paul assists the poor, underserved, disadvantaged, and those in need who may not qualify for services from other agencies. It is important to note that all volunteers are welcome, and that's also regardless of sex, creed, race, or disability. And all individuals that we have met at any of the St. Vincent de Paul locations, they are full of life and love, and they're willing to help. And they really are there for the community. They really are there for the people. And this in itself is pretty awesome and refreshing because it goes a long way to making any individual or family in need who feel like they're in a vulnerable or guarded position. It allows them to feel safe and inspires. St. Vincent de Paul inspires the feeling of hope and goodness. And this itself plays a huge part in why the services of St. Vincent de Paul are such an amazing part of the community. So that kind of talks a little bit about St. Vincent de Paul as an organization and as a community partner, and what we have learned, the mission is, the history is, the purpose of the organization is. For our servant leadership class, we needed to come up with a list of objectives and follow through with them. So Keegan and Jennifer, if you guys can, two of you can take over the team objectives, and then we'll talk about our experiences and we'll go from there.
Okay, so like Cap said, prior to our start at St. Vincent de Paul, we made 4 team objectives. The first one was we wanted to be able to appreciate the organization's dedication to serving those in need and less fortunate, and we would do that by assisting with the many programs and services that they provide. The second objective was to be able to examine and understand the needs and challenges of the populations that they serve. And by doing so, we would be able to be more effective in our role as volunteers.
And the last 2, one was to discuss possible ways to get word out to the community about St. Vincent de Paul and the services they offer, and also to try and make sure that it got to the target population in need. And lastly, we wanted to create an exceptional final paper and presentation that captured our individual experiences while we were at St. Vincent de Paul.
Oh, wonderful. That leads us right into our experience and how those objectives were observed or completed, or how we accomplished them. For our team experience and what we've learned, we were involved in 3 main areas as a group while doing this. That was the food pantry, the thrift store, and childcare for parents who were involved in whether it was math or reading classes. So if I know Jennifer had a little of experience in the food pantry. I had some experience in the thrift store, and Keegan, I think we're going to talk about childcare. So if we want to start off with you, Jennifer, and we'll go from there.
Great. So like Cap said, for the last couple of weeks, I've been working in the food pantry, and that operates on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7. And primarily what the role of volunteers is we bag up we pre-make boxes that have a lot of non-perishable items, such as macaroni, pasta, cereal, stuff like that, and then we make them according to family size. So we'll have a family size of 1 to 3, a family size of 4 and above, and then we'll also give them things like fruits and veggies, meats, and we as volunteers will take them out to their car if they're unable to, and we'll just go. I think we serve about probably 15 to 20 families per night, or for the days that I've been there. And I think what's great about the food pantry is being exposed to the community that is coming in to receive the services at St. Vincent de Paul.
Perfect. And then I did a little bit of work in the thrift store. They have 2 locations, St. Vincent de Paul does. There's one on 6th Street, 6th Avenue, 6th Street.
6th Avenue.
6th Avenue. It's right down the road from here. And the other one is off of Army Post Road. So I did a majority of help in the thrift store at the Army Post Road location. And the really cool thing about what the thrift store does at St. Vincent de Paul, and I can't speak for the others, but I thought it was really cool that all the articles of clothing or the furniture or household appliances, electronics, anything that was brought in for donations, they were tested, they were inspected, and that was done meticulously. Any rip, tear, stain, fadedness of clothes, they were not put on the shelves in the thrift stores. And all the electronics and all the appliances were tested prior to being put on the shelves. And I helped out with a lot of that, the quality testing, the quality control, the figuring out if they were fit to be on the shelves. All the clothes that we They didn't put on the shelves. We didn't throw them away. What we do is we put them in huge bales, and these bales are sent overseas to people who do need clothes and who are in need. So nothing really goes to waste. But I thought it was really awesome that they really do care about the quality that they put out on the shelves for the community to purchase, because all this money gets funneled right back into all this gets funneled right back into the organization itself, whether it's social services or something else. And I believe, and the thrift store on Army Coast, they cater to their community. They have a lot of antique items, and there are a lot of people around the area who like that stuff. And I believe that the 6th Avenue location does something similar as well. Keegan, why don't you talk a little bit about childcare?
Yeah, so I was involved with the childcare for the past several weeks, and it was 2 hours on Thursday night. And there were 2 kids that I watched, Mia and Amy. But during the first couple weeks when they were there, we had to do intake of them as kids coming into the childcare. So we had to fill out information sheets with their allergies and things like that, and contact information for the parents if anything went wrong. But during the time for childcare, we'd play games, build puzzles, draw, build forts, anything along those lines, and anything else we could come up with to try and occupy their time, since we had several weeks there and their games and puzzles didn't change. But other than that, that was pretty much childcare.
Perfect. Yeah, and they have many different avenues and different aspects of St. Vincent de Paul that we could have participated at, but those are the 3 main activities that we were able to volunteer at. The next slide on the PowerPoint, if you're following along on the PowerPoint, are a handful of photos of us being involved, being a part of the volunteering process, and having fun doing it. There's one of myself, there's one of Keegan, there's one of Jinifer, and they're fairly self-explanatory, I believe. 2 of them are in childcare, and one of them is in the food pantry. Let's talk about the challenges. Every organization, every area will have challenges that they have to overcome, or that they're trying to prevent from happening, bad things that they're trying to prevent from happening, so they can still serve the community. Jinifer, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of our team objectives was to get the word out about St. Vincent de Paul, because I think for many people, our team included, we thought it was just a thrift store. We didn't realize that it, had so many other services that it provides. So our team met with Andrew Gross, who is the director of the social services there, and to discuss, ways in which we could achieve this goal. However, he told us that, people who know about St. Vincent de Paul already knows what services they provide. They do network. They do have stuff out on Facebook or other social sites like that. So really what they need are, monetary contributions, volunteers, stuff like that, and one-on-one mentoring, which actually this is would be Cap's area, because he's going to be, I believe, working with Andrew and getting this program started.
Yeah, we are. It's actually really exciting. It's something kind of in the beta version. We're just trying it out right now, and essentially you have families or individuals in need who need help that month or that week for financial aid, whether it be to pay, to help them a little bit with a mortgage bill or water bill or electricity or something like that. So what we'll be doing is sitting down with them and figuring out where they are in life, what their goals are, if they need help with getting job placement, they need to complete a GED, and then on top of that, really knowing where their finances is. So we're gonna sit down with them, figure out what their debts are, what their budget is, and getting them set up with a financial tracker where they can figure out where their dollars are going and use that knowledge to have a more financially structured and comfortable life. So we're actually starting that next week, and then we'll go from there. And the really nice thing about the way St. Vincent de Paul does things, like the mentoring, for example, it's an approach um, on a personal level. So it's not just a huge corporation on the other end of a phone. It literally is individuals like myself and others who genuinely want to help, and we're allowed to, and we're given this opportunity to help, members of the community, you know, have happier, more fulfilling lives, and that's the biggest takeaway. I'll be definitely, hopefully, helping tremendously, but I feel like I will, be getting more out of it than they are, because it's an amazing feeling to be able to help people. And that leads us right into, what we have learned about servant leadership. I have been employed for the last 7.5 years, almost 8, by Mercy Medical Center, which is also affiliated with CHI, Catholic Health Initiatives. And the really nice thing about Mercy Medical Center is they push their employees and their volunteers to, be an active part of the community, and really be servant leaders. And that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years of my life. But there are so many more opportunities that even I was unaware of going into this class. Um, and the biggest thing about what I've learned about servant leadership is listening. I feel like listening is important, and I feel like I've done a decent job listening so far. But really understanding where somebody's coming from, especially when you take into consideration uh, life experiences, and just how people analyze or understand certain things. It's important to not only listen but try to interpret from the other person's perspective. So this has definitely helped me hone in on those skills and grow more. And it's also allowed me a wonderful opportunity to, better serve the community, which I am super excited about, and I'm really, really looking forward to what this brings and what I learn from it. The really nice thing about servant leadership, which we talked about in our STEs before, is it should be, in its simplest form, a lifestyle. It shouldn't be a burden. It should be a little thing that's actually a part of your life, and there's not a huge time or effort commitment. It's a matter of little tiny things that make a tremendous difference. And the more we do it, the more we realize. So that's kind of my take on servant leadership and what I've learned about it. And I I'm sure I will continue to learn more every moment, every day, and hopefully I never stop.
Okay, I will go ahead and tell you what I have learned about servant leadership. I think, just from, for the last several weeks, I think just becoming more aware about the community, being more involved. I think that's important to be able to serve. You need to know who you're serving, and You know, being aware and being involved with, you know, whatever, you know, whether it's at St. Vincent de Paul or wherever, to be able to be an effective servant leader, you need to know who you're serving. So, and I think another thing is just being empathetic. I think that's always been one of my, you know, in the discussion posts and whatnot. I think that, you know, being empathetic, understanding that your community, you're part of the community. You're the same. It's just that they have, you know, the people that you're serving have, you know, maybe a little less than you, or things that, you know, you take for granted. But that doesn't mean that they're less than you. It doesn't mean that they're, you know, they're different than you. So I think just being aware and learning to be empathetic of those that, you know, we've served, I think is important. So I know that's definitely what I've learned.
During my time while working at St. Vincent de Paul, I feel like I have improved with my patients. Working with two little girls can be very time consuming and stressful, just making sure that I'm aware of where they're at the whole time and make sure everything is okay with them. And also I feel like my imagination has also had to be used a lot since I worked with them for several weeks and we never switched any of the games or puzzles we had. We had to come up with new ways to try and do things and find ways to pass our time. So just those two, and then also not being afraid to mess up or fail and have to restart, because some of the ideas we had for ways to occupy our time they didn't like, so we have to move on to something else and figure it out from there.
Perfect. Wonderful. So that basically sums up our presentation, our video for today. Is there anything else that we're forgetting or to add? I feel like we covered everything. Are you guys comfortable with everything we've done so far?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right, and once again, we are Team 2 from Mercy College of Health Sciences, Spring 2018. We are students of the Servant Leadership class. Partnered this semester with St. Vincent de Paul. We had a lesson in servant leadership, and for those of you in the future who are maybe looking at this video and wondering, you know, the challenges that it takes to get together with this, all you really need to know is have fun. You're definitely going to screw up a number of times. We have just our fourth attempt at this video. And you'll figure it out. You just have to persevere and don't get too frustrated, or you know, just laugh it off just a little bit. With that said, everybody have a wonderful day, have a wonderful life, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.